Imagine going to sleep in a quiet coastal town and waking up to find the sky itself had turned to stone gray dust. That is exactly what happened in southern Japan, when one of the most active volcanoes on Earth tore open the night with a violent burst of fire, smoke, and ash that reached kilometers into the atmosphere. Within hours, roads were blanketed, flights were rerouted, and an entire region was forced to confront a force of nature that has haunted this land for centuries. This is the story of that night, and what it reveals about Japan's fragile, fiery relationship with the ground beneath its feet. The volcano at the center of this story is Sakurajima, a name that translates loosely to Cherry Blossom Island, though there is nothing gentle about what it does. Sitting in Kagoshima Prefecture on the southern island of Kyushu, Sakurajima is not a sleeping giant, waiting for its moment. It is one of the most consistently active volcanoes on the planet, erupting dozens, sometimes over 100 times in a single year. For the people who live in its shadow, eruptions are almost a part of daily life, but every so often, the mountain does something bigger, something that reminds everyone just how much power sits beneath the surface. This was one of those nights. Local meteorological observatories recorded the eruption beginning after midnight, when Sakurajima suddenly unleashed a series of explosive bursts. Thick black smoke and ash shot violently upward, climbing thousands of meters into the dark sky. Witnesses described the mountain as glowing red at its summit, with streaks of molten rock visible against the night before the ash cloud swallowed the view entirely. Video captured by residents showed the eruption illuminating the clouds from within, a terrifying but strangely beautiful sight that quickly spread across social media and international news outlets. According to Japan's meteorological agency, the ash plume climbed to heights of several thousand meters, drifting outward across the prefecture. In some of Sakurajima's more intense eruptions in recent years, ash clouds have reached over 5 kilometers into the sky, among the tallest recorded in the region in decades. Whether this particular eruption reached that scale or not, the immediate effect on the ground was unmistakable. Ash began falling steadily over nearby towns, coating rooftops, cars, and streets in a fine gray powder that turned daylight hazy and grounded normal life to a slow crawl. Kagoshima City, located just across the bay from the volcano, bore much of the brunt. Residents woke to find their neighborhoods covered in ash, a scene eerily reminiscent of a light snowfall, except this powder was abrasive, gritty, and dangerous to breathe. Authorities issued urgent advisories urging people to stay indoors, wear masks if they had to go outside, and avoid touching their eyes or inhaling deeply near open ash deposits. Drivers were warned to slow down, since ash on the roads can reduce traction and visibility just as severely as snow or heavy rain. The disruption did not stop at the ground level. Japan's aviation industry, which has learned through hard experience just how dangerous volcanic ash is to jet engines, moved quickly. Airlines including ANA and Japan Airlines began adjusting flight paths, rerouting planes away from the ash-laden airspace near Kagoshima. While the airport itself largely remained operational, several flights faced delays or diversions as officials monitored the drifting plume in real time. Volcanic ash is not like ordinary smoke. It is made of tiny shards of glass and rock that can melt inside a jet engine, turning to a molten coating that can cause catastrophic failure mid-flight, which is exactly why airlines take no chances when a volcano like Sakurajima erupts this dramatically. On the ground, emergency services scrambled into a familiar but tense routine. Roads near the volcano's base were closed as a precaution, cutting off access to areas at risk from falling rock and potential pyroclastic activity. Local governments in Kagoshima Prefecture activated emergency response protocols, and officials raised the alert level for the surrounding area, restricting access to the mountain itself. While Japan has decades of experience managing Sakurajima's frequent outbursts, each major eruption still triggers the same careful dance between vigilance and normal daily life, because no one can predict with total certainty how long an active eruption sequence will last. What makes this event stand out, even by Sakurajima's already extraordinary standards, is the intensity concentrated into a single night. This volcano erupts constantly, almost background noise for the region, but the scale of ash and the visual power of this particular outburst pushed it into international headlines. Reports described it as one of the more significant eruptions in recent memory, a stark reminder that even a volcano known for near-daily activity can still produce a night that feels genuinely historic to the people living beside it. To understand why Sakurajima behaves this way, you have to look beneath Japan itself. The entire country sits along the Pacific Ring of Fire, a horseshoe-shaped zone circling the Pacific Ocean, where a staggering percentage of the world's earthquakes and volcanic eruptions occur. Japan alone is home to more days than 100 active volcanoes, a direct result of the tectonic plates grinding, colliding, and sliding beneath the islands. Sakurajima itself was once a separate island, until a massive eruption in 1914 sent enough lava flowing outward to connect it permanently to the Osumi Peninsula. That eruption remains one of the most powerful in the volcano's recorded history, and geologists have long warned that the mountain is capable of even larger events than the frequent smaller explosions it produces almost daily today. For residents of Kagoshima, this uneasy coexistence with an active volcano has become deeply woven into daily culture. Homes are built with reinforced roofs designed to handle ash accumulation. Schools conduct regular ashfall drills alongside earthquake drills. Cars are cleaned constantly, and many residents keep protective goggles and masks by their front doors, the same way people elsewhere might keep an umbrella. There is even a specific term used locally for the region's ever-present gray dust, a small linguistic reminder of just how normalized this extraordinary natural hazard has become for the people who call this place home. And if you're enjoying learning about the raw power hidden beneath our planet's surface, make sure to like and subscribe so you never miss a story like this one. Scientists monitoring Sakurajima use an extensive network of seismographs, GPS sensors, and tilt meters embedded around the volcano, tracking even the smallest shifts in pressure and ground deformation. In the lead-up to major eruptions, these instruments often detect a gradual swelling of the volcano's flanks, a sign that magma and gas are building pressure beneath the surface. Interestingly, after some of Sakurajima's larger eruptions, monitoring agencies have noted that the explosive release actually helps relieve some of that internal pressure, temporarily easing the crustal deformation that had been slowly accumulating in the weeks prior. It is a strange kind of natural relief valve, violent on the surface but stabilizing deep underground. Despite the chaos of the night, what stands out most in the aftermath is the absence of catastrophe. No casualties were reported. No major structural damage was confirmed in the immediate hours following the eruption. This is not luck alone, but the product of decades of disaster preparedness, strict monitoring protocols, and a population that has learned, sometimes through painful history, how to respect the mountain without living in constant fear of it. Japan's worst volcanic disaster in modern memory came from Mount Ontake in 2014, when a sudden, largely unpredicted eruption caught hikers off guard and resulted in dozens of deaths. That tragedy reshaped how seriously Japan treats volcanic monitoring and public warning systems, and echoes of those lessons are visible in how swiftly authorities responded this time. As the sun rose the morning after the eruption, the scene across Kagoshima told its own story. Streets dusted in ash, cars coated in a fine gray film, residents sweeping, rooftops and sidewalks in a routine that has become almost second nature. Far above, the plume that had lit up the night sky slowly dispersed, carried by winds out over the surrounding countryside and eventually out to sea. Sakurajima, as it always does, settled back into its rhythm, still rumbling faintly, still steaming gently from its summit, waiting for the next moment when pressure beneath the earth once again demands release. The economic ripple effects of a night like this extend far beyond the immediate cleanup. Kagoshima's local economy leans heavily on agriculture, fishing, and a growing stream of tourists drawn to the dramatic silhouette of Sakurajima itself. Farmers in the surrounding countryside often face the tedious task of washing ash from crops before they can be harvested or sold, a labor-intensive process that can stretch on for days after a major eruption. Fishing boats docked in the bay require careful cleaning as well, since fine ash can clog engines and coat nets. Even the tourism industry, which markets Sakurajima as one of the most photogenic natural landmarks in Japan, has to pause and recalibrate, rerouting ferry schedules and postponing hiking tours until officials confirm it is safe to resume normal activity. Ash from a major eruption does not simply vanish once it settles. Municipal workers in Kagoshima are so accustomed to these events that the city has developed one of the most sophisticated ash collection systems in the world. Specially marked collection bins are placed throughout residential neighborhoods, allowing residents to sweep ash directly from their rooftops and streets into designated bags for pickup, much like a city might organize recycling collection elsewhere. This infrastructure, built up over decades of living beside an active volcano, reflects just how deeply this hazard has been absorbed into ordinary civic planning, rather than treated as a rare emergency each time it happens. Beyond Japan's borders, scientists and aviation authorities worldwide pay close attention whenever a volcano like Sakurajima produces a plume of this scale. Ash clouds do not always stay contained to a single region. Depending on wind patterns and atmospheric conditions, fine volcanic particles can drift for hundreds of kilometers, occasionally affecting air travel routes far beyond the immediate eruption zone. International volcanic ash advisory centers, coordinated through global aviation bodies, track these plumes in real time using satellite imagery, updating airlines and pilots on safe corridors to avoid contamination. This global coordination is a direct legacy of past aviation incidents in which aircraft flying through unseen ash clouds suffered severe engine damage mid-flight. a risk that modern monitoring systems are specifically designed to prevent. Historically, Sakurajima's activity has ebbed and flowed in cycles that scientists still work to fully understand. Long stretches of frequent smaller eruptions are sometimes followed by quieter periods, only for pressure to build again beneath the surface and trigger a more forceful release. Researchers studying the volcano's magma chamber believe it sits directly beneath Kagoshima Bay, connected to the same volcanic system responsible for the massive Ara caldera, formed by a colossal eruption roughly 29,000 years ago. That ancient eruption was so powerful, it reshaped the entire bay. And Sakurajima itself is essentially a much younger, still active remnant of that same volcanic system, continuing to release pressure that has been building for millennia. For many residents, nights like this one bring a strange mixture of anxiety and familiarity. Longtime locals often describe hearing the distinctive rumble of an eruption before they even open their eyes, a sound so recognizable after years of living beside the volcano that many can estimate its intensity without stepping outside. Younger children growing up in Kagoshima are taught from an early age how to react, treating ashfall drills with the same seriousness as fire drills elsewhere in the world. This blend of respect and normalization is perhaps the most striking part of the story, a community that has learned to live, quite literally, in the shadow of an active volcano without letting fear dictate daily life. This single night is a vivid reminder that beneath Japan's modern cities, bullet trains, and neon-lit streets lies a landscape shaped by forces far older and far more powerful than anything humans have built. Sakurajima does not erupt because of chance. It erupts because it sits at the meeting point of tectonic plates locked in a slow, relentless struggle. A struggle that has been playing out for millions of years and will continue long after we are gone. For one night in Kagoshima, that ancient struggle broke through the surface in dramatic fashion, painting the sky in ash and fire, and offering the world another striking reminder of just how alive our planet truly is beneath our feet.